This week on Dumb Pitches, my guest is Lisa Wallen. We talk all about gaming, and I don't understand most of it, but they're bad pitches, bad dates, and a joke that spoils Game of Thrones. Is that a bad idea? We'll see. Here we go, Dumb Pitches.
What a bunch of dumb pitches. Oh my goodness.
Welcome to another episode of Dumb Pitches with Monica Nevi. I'm Monica Nevi, your host. This is the show where we talk to successful people. Sexy people. We talk to successful people about their worst ideas. And this show could be one of mine. I'm so excited for our guest this week. Another in-person interview. How special. Lisa Wallen is here. Yay. Oh, you got a full applause break.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
This is so special.
Thanks for being here. We always like to start the show with your good ideas so that people know you're not just full of terrible ideas.
With my good ideas?
Yes. So I can do it for you so you don't have to talk about yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a better idea.
We know each other. Because you're a stand-up comedian, very funny stand-up comedian. You're also a Twitch streamer.
Uh-huh.
You stream a lot, which I don't know how you do it. But
I don't either.
And you are a content creator for Evil Geniuses, which is actually, you've been doing some cool stuff lately. I feel very, I've been kind of like, just watching, you know? It's cool. You're doing some stuff for LG, and it was like this whole, I don't know how you stream for that long.
I don't either.
I have a really short podcast. I couldn't imagine streaming for that long.
It was like, in my introduction's 25 minutes long. So I was like, so, okay, well, there we go. Yeah, I actually got the job because of a idea that I had, like a good idea. It was like for a commercial I did for them a few months ago. And they're like, hey, she's actually really like kind of funny. And
do you want to do this all the time?
And kind of write. And they mainly book streamers for EG, but they needed someone to like write and like help produce stuff. And they were like, I kind of just faked it till I made it. And then I realized they were a local company. So I was like, oh, that's why they hired me. So I didn't have to move here. Okay.
You're like, that's cheaper.
Yeah.
But that's cool. That's so, congratulations on that. And
Thank
it seems
you.
like it's going well. All right. So I gave you kind of the rundown of how it goes. What bad ideas did you come up with?
Well, it was funny when you asked me to be on this, because I've seen clips of your podcast on like Instagram, and I was like, yeah, like these are like actual pitches of like dumb ideas people had, and then you're like relationships, drugs, blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, okay, well now you just opened a whole can of worms. I was like, because that's 90% of my life is a bad idea turning funny.
Okay, well then it turns into an actual
right?
pitch based on
exactly.
a bad idea. Okay.
And like for me too, it was like a lot of the dumb stuff I have now, because you know we're both stand-up comedians, and I think one of the big goals as a stand-up comedian is to try to have jokes that are broad enough to everyone can understand.
Right.
And it's kind of hard as someone who's like really into anime and video games to do that, because 90% of our audience is like divorced white moms from like Issaquah.
Yeah,
so
for
it's
sure.
like, my son likes that. Don't know what you said. And so I've been writing this, you know, a lot more bits about, you know, trying to incorporate gaming and anime and like just nerd culture in general. And I recently started doing a joke that I have fucked up every single time because the punchline can go really good or really bad. And the joke is that I wanted to make a joke about how I want to date someone who's going to spoil me. You know, like I want a sugar daddy. I want someone to spoil me. But the pitch of the joke is spoiling a series that I watch. And so originally the joke was, because I tweeted it, was that, sorry for anyone who hasn't seen Death Note that came out in 2006, but it was that L dies in Death Note. So the joke was like, I just want to date a man that spoils me. And the man walks up and he's like, L dies in Death Note. I'm like, that's a different kind of spoiling.
Got it. Okay.
So I told the first joke on stage with that. And it went pretty well because most people like that are kind of in that community understand. But then I had 3 people come up to me and was like, I'm watching that right now. I had no idea that he died.
So it could go one of two ways. Either they don't know what you're talking about because they're not in that community, or they are and they're like, you did just spoil it for me.
Yeah,
So you need people specifically that know that have already watched it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I started looking at big movie spoilers online, big TV show spoilers, and Game of Thrones, I think, was notorious for getting spoiled for everyone.
Right.
So I told this joke the other day, and I said the punchline was Jon Snow dies in season 5 of Game of Thrones. I've never seen Game of Thrones, so I didn't care. But like people booed me in the audience because they were like, I haven't even seen it yet, and I was like, oh my god. So
that's another one. Man, it's hard to pick like a thing that people are nerdy about because they get so into the details, or like that's their favorite character, so even if they know that he died, they're like still pissed about it, so they're like, don't bring it up.
Well, the ironic part is like people who get backlash from comedy is usually because they're offending somebody. Like,
and you just keep spoiling shows for people.
Keep spoiling movies and TV shows. Like it's like I could go the route where it's like Darth Vader is Luke's father, but everyone knows that. That's so I feel true. Like it's not as funny.
Kind of hacky.
Yeah, like so it's a hard joke to write, but I think it's hilarious.
I'm trying to think of something that people wouldn't care about, like even if it was newer, but it's just really bad or something. Like but then it's like people wouldn't have the same fandom as maybe you were originally looking for. So I don't even know, or it could be something so inconsequential, like just like the end of Schitt's Creek or something. You know,
right.
Like, whatever, it's just a comedy.
Nothing happens at the end of Schitt's Creek, right?
Like, everyone's happy at the end of Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, it's such a hard concept, but I think it is funny because like I've never received backlash from like jokes I've written because I've never been on the border of offensive, but like this is the one so far. I've done this joke 3 times and every time it's just been like, why would you say that on stage? What is wrong with you? And I'm like, all right, will just not. But I'm like, I'm keeping this bit. I'm sorry.
Okay, so do you have other ideas for changing it, or are you going to keep trying these 2?
I'm just going to keep spoiling Game of Thrones for people.
Okay. I think at some point you'll start liking that. You're like, yeah, I got you. You know, like if you haven't seen it, you know.
It's like when offensive comedian is like, oh, did I trigger you? I'm going to say that now.
Oh, did I spoil
I'm like, did I ruin this for you guys? You guys are too sensitive.
That is funny because I feel like some of your other material, if it is a little like edgier or whatever, it's still kind of nerdy. So you'd have to know, like the hentai stuff is like, I didn't even know what that was. Neither did my mother before you did it in front of her. But for people who haven't
seen my comedy, I have a hentai joke, by the way.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Not me just doing hentai. You know your hentai stuff.
You know you did that for my mom.
It is funny too because
our
like
live audience is really enjoying. My fiance's here too.
Our Andy Richter is here in the audience. I do think it's really funny too because that joke still I always done comedy like the goal is to make people laugh, but for me I think it's funny. So and that's the reason.
Right, if I'm not having fun, what's the point?
Yeah, right. And the hentai stuff still doesn't go well, so I follow up with like a bukkake joke, which makes it even worse. You guys just need to know what these Japanese words mean at this point. There's like 2 other comedians around here that have like a hentai joke too, and I'm like, don't say it on stage before me. I have to be the one to establish
I need to tell them what it is. Theirs will work better now that they know. And I'm like, why is everyone talking about hentai today?
Well, the funny thing about the spoiling joke too is the whole point is that I wanted to make it more about gaming and anime, and I just transitioned it into like a normie type thing, and now people get mad at me. I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? I'll just stick to streaming.
So when you did it, what was it called? The not Game of Thrones, the one before that you used?
Death Note.
Death Note. Okay, so when you did that, there was a few people that were still watching it? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, it went really well because, I mean, I don't know how much you know about anime. Yeah, exactly. So I'm like usually it's like when you choose like the top 5 most big series, like that's gonna be in it.
Oh, okay.
And it turned into a meme because like the character everyone really loves, and they end up dying halfway through, and you're like, this is the dumbest show I've ever seen now because the one character
is gone.
Yeah, okay. And so it became a meme. So I thought, oh, well, this will be really funny on stage, and it turned in like 3 weebs in the audience. I'm like, how did you leave your house? You always watch. Like, why are you here? Like, you should be at home watching Death Note. You should be.
Yes.
So you get my joke.
There's the tagline. If that offended you, you should be at home finishing the series.
It's hard though. People get really sensitive about media shit. So I'm like, so I just stay away from it. So I didn't watch Game of Thrones.
I like that you're like politics and all that. That's fine. But media stuff, I don't want to spoil anything.
I don't want to spoil anything for anyone. But the joke to me is so still funny and dumb that I'm like, I'm still gonna try it.
I like the premise. I think the joke idea isn't the bad pitch here. It is just what you choose to spoil, I guess.
Like I want someone who spoils me.
I think you should just start going full force in whatever new like Marvel movie or whatever.
Like Squid
just spoil
Game?
it. Yeah, just spoil.
They're all Korean, by the way. I don't know if anyone knew that.
Yeah, and just whatever new thing is out, then actually spoil something for people.
Okay, I'll probably do that.
And see who.
Which is kind of an interesting transition into my next bad pitch, because this wasn't even a bad pitch. This is a bad date, which is even
Okay.
funnier.
Was it your fault or the other person's? is the
I
question.
still haven't figured that out.
Okay.
So like I started like dating, again, obviously.
Right.
It's been a really long time, and that's when the spoiling joke came. I'm like, I want a guy to like buy me stuff, not tell me who dies in my favorite shows. And so it is hard too, because like I am very into like anime and gaming, and a lot of people, especially our age, really aren't, unless you're in the community of like streaming and stuff.
If you're already.
Yeah, most people here, they're like weird like techie bros or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I think anime, like when I was younger, there was like a few people who liked it, but then it became like this rumor of like, oh, it's just porn stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Or children's cartoons. Like there's no in
there
between.
wasn't like
It's
an in
just
between.
either for babies or for weird guys living in their mother's basement. Like no one knows. That's what happens. I'm like, yes, all of it. I like. I know shame. But yeah, like it's hard for me because I've always kind of struggled like bringing that into conversation, because it's things I feel really passionate about, but like people are very like, oh, like it's just a goofy hobby of yours. I'm like, no, I've curated my entire life around this.
I mean, you have enough tattoos that are based around where you're like, I
don't know who
need
the camera
to.
is. Yeah. It's like my
Well,
whole.
you have to address your tattoos on dates, of course.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They're like, who's this man on your hand? I'm like, I don't know, just some guy. God. Anyways, so I went on a date with this guy who wasn't into this stuff. But he like wanted to impress me. So he was like, well, I saw that you're really into animes and like video games and stuff. So we should like go to Gameworks, which to me is adorable, because it's like if I dated a guy who was like into the NFL, I'd be like, we should go to a Mariners game because it's sports.
Right. It's like the same but not. Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's sports, right? So I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll go to Gameworks, I guess. And it was really fun at first. Like I can socialize outside of this stuff. So conversation started really well. Like talked about like Seattle, like they're just moved here and all this stuff. And so I went to Gameworks, and he really wanted to be like, well, show me like your favorite games. And like I'm like, in my head I'm like, I'm not really into this, but yeah, like let's go play Time Crisis, which is like a shooting game, And have you played a lot of arcade like shooting games? Yeah, and like there's a rule when you want to reload the gun, you have to like shoot off screen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a pretty common thing.
Yeah.
And like some of them have like a button you can press, or like a thing you can do with your foot, but this one didn't. And so we were playing the game, and it was like really intense, and his gun wouldn't reload, and I kept saying like in the nicest way possible, you have to shoot away. And I kept saying, shoot away. And so he'd like shoot to the corner of the screen. I'm like, no, you have to like shoot away. And he was like, oh. And like he would shoot to another corner of the screen. I was like, no, you have to like shoot your gun off stream. And then he just fucking like, I can swear on here, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, obviously it's like, I just feel like we're in like a therapy office. I'm like, I can say
which
things.
is funny because it looks very cool on camera, but then if people knew how small the room was,
Yeah, it's very quiet and library like. He got really mad. He's like, you know what? I'm done. And I was like, oh. And he just like put his gun down and left.
Like left the whole
yeah,
date?
he just left me at Gameworks.
Because he didn't know you're supposed to shoot off screen.
Yeah.
Also, it's like written on the machine somewhere.
Yeah,
It's like reload, shoot off screen.
I probably was getting a little frustrated though too, because I was like, you're like, you want to impress, this is who I am. Like like you're the one who wanted to take me here. But he was also like a sporty guy, so I was like, I think he was also very competitive, because he was also the type of guy that like lied about his height, and I was like, you can't lie about your height to a woman who's 5'11". You just can't. Like
it's pretty obvious.
Like if you say you're 5'11", you can't be like 5'8". Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so he like left me there, and I was like, oh, are you coming back? He's like, nope. I was like, okay. So he just left me there with the beers on our bill and the tater tots and all that. But luckily the bartender was really nice and like didn't charge me for anything. But the most embarrassing part is that my dad had to come pick me up. Dad had to come pick me up from Gameworks because my car was parked at his house.
He still left you after all that, like
Yeah.
you like rode together and
Yeah.
everything?
I mean, I already got weird vibes from him to begin with.
I mean, I would say if this whole thing happened, there's got to be some other indicator that maybe he's a little
There was
unstable.
something, like I wore heels on the date and he would like comment on my height. I'm like, yes, I'm tall. Like I'm allowed to wear whatever shoes I'm allowed to wear,
Right, yeah.
you know? But yeah, the embarrassing part was having my dad come pick up his 30-year-old daughter from Gameworks because of a bad date. Not from an 8-year-old's birthday party that I got bullied out of. And so my dad had to drive me back to his house. And then I thought like that was going to be the worst part. But the worst part is I left my jacket in his house. So I also had to like call him, be like, hey, I know I just pissed you off at a video game, but like I left my jacket in your house and you need to bring that out to me. So my dad also got to see who my bad date was. So that was really fun.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
like, I mean, whew. That's like layers of just.
That's also the reason why I just don't. Like, it is tough when you're really passionate about certain things. And it's like, I like to incorporate that stuff into like dating and like socializing stuff, but also like I don't have to, because when I do, like so far this has happened and I pissed off like 3 audience members with the anime
I started
spoiler.
yelling at the ref at our dodgeball game last night. So, you know, I get it a little bit.
Wait, were you playing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The other team was like, you're out. And I was like, she has to call it. And so I went up to her and I was like, I need you to say something. Because they could be like, you're out, you know, you're not out. And then I was like, I know I look like an asshole right now because I'm just too competitive. But I'm not going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm out. Let me just have our team lose.
And you've had all that competitive nature bundled up inside from not playing sports.
Exactly.
And you're like, this is unleashing me right now.
Yeah. So that's your thing. So video games are your thing. Your
bad dates, also a thing.
Well, yeah. But I mean, for him to be going in trying to like impress you by going to the wrong type of gaming, but whatever, some sort of gaming thing, and then to get frustrated with the thing that you're supposed to be good at when you're being good at it, you know what I mean? Like, just because you...
I wasn't even being good at it. I was just telling him
I know, just because you knew how to do it and he didn't know. Like, I don't really understand why he would get that frustrated with you when you're literally telling him the same thing over and over again, which is the correct thing to do, and he's just not doing it.
He's just getting mad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing with, like, comedy, too, because, like, I mean, this is also another bad date that happened, not because of gaming, because they found I was a comedian, which, oh, if you're a comedian, like, roast me, blah, blah, blah type thing. Like, I went on this date with this guy who, like, at first would always complain about how Seattle's so sensitive, and I was like, oh, this isn't great. Like, because he just moved here. He's like, everyone here is just so sensitive and blah, blah, blah. And, like, we got drunk and, like, went back to his place, and, like, I get really roasty. And, like, this guy had, like, a concerning amount of fake plants in his house, like fake trees and, like, all sorts of things. And I started laughing at him. He goes, what's so funny? I said, your apartment looks like a Rainforest Cafe. And he got so upset with me. He was like, well, I don't want bugs in my house and all this stuff, and like arguing. I was like, hey man, I like Rainforest Cafe. And I was just like going on with it. And the next day he was like, you're really rude to me. I'm like, you just went on this tangent about how Seattle's so sensitive. I made fun of your fake plants that are not going to die, by the way.
Right,
Like,
yeah,
they're just going to be here. And also, this might be a really good joke in the future, and I'm going to use it. So
this is fun. Where are you meeting these people?
On Hinge and Unhinged, actually. There you go.
Okay, so
yes,
on apps.
Yeah, so I'm not dating right now.
She's like, don't contact me after
I just
this.
kind of, I had like a joke that now I'm just going to tell you on these are all dating, like literally I went on dating apps just so I could have stand-up material, apparently. Okay. And like, am I allowed to have one more joke? Can I tell you one more joke? It's not a bad joke, actually. This is a good one. That's kind of killing it on stage. Okay. By killing it, I mean like 7 people laugh out of 15. So I'm like, yes, this is great. That's
a fair, ratio.
I was also seeing this guy who was a gamer earlier this year, and I started playing like Dark Souls, which it's a very hard game. It's like really punishing. You're supposed to die a lot, and you get frustrated playing it. And this is a joke, but this is also real, but I think it's hilarious. But I was really scared to play the game, and he was like, we can co-op together so we can like play the game together, because yeah, it's fucking hard. And so after the first boss, he like ghosted me. And I tweeted about it, and someone replied, that was just part of the tutorial. Because the game is so frustrating and hard. I was like, oh, getting dumped is the first part of this game.
And then, like, that happens to everyone.
This is when the Dark Souls begins. And so I said that joke on stage the other day. I was like, okay, so that's one gaming dating thing that has gone good so far. So I'll take that. But yeah, so that's my life. And now I'm just not dating at all. I'm like, this is too frustrating. This is the Dark Souls of dating right now. So
Dark Souls is about your dating life.
is all it is, yeah.
Oh, well, okay. So
Which is what I'm streaming tonight, by the way. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. What is it all, it's all the same handle, right? Yes, we have, okay, we'll get to that in a second. But
Yeah, sorry.
no, that's okay. So we just, I mean, I don't want to say that like the dumb pitch or the bad idea is the dudes that you're picking, but
It is actually 100%.
Yeah.
That is my dumb pitch, right?
Because it feels like you need someone who knows at least some about gaming, because that is so much about your life, you know? Or I guess can remove themselves fully, I guess. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
think it's just
I don't
men are
know.
very competitive. So it's like they meet someone who's tall and is into more like nerdier more nerdier things. And it's like, I get this weird, it's the comedian thing too. It's like they get this weird nature around you because you're like, oh, you're a funny woman? Like,
Yeah,
like, what do you...
That's a guy thing. Or it's just like, I guess gaming is a guy thing,
Right,
too, you know?
which
like,
is so dumb. It's
yeah.
like, no, we just have more personalities than you do. Like, you know, like we're just a lot more interesting people. I'm sorry. And it's like the same thing too. It's like comedian stuff. It's like you always have a guy. Like I would always have a guy come up to me after a show and be like, "Oh yeah, like I've been told I should be a comedian. I'm like the funny one of my friend group," and not even address my set.
Right.
Like, are you here to compliment me or tell me your bad idea?
Like,
Like,
yeah, you don't need to tell me.
Right?
What. Oh yeah, and people come up and tell you their jokes or whatever, and you're like, either that's a street joke that's not that good, or it's incredibly offensive to
Yeah.
somebody, and you're like, no, keep going.
You're like, yeah, transphobia is hilarious. I haven't heard
Right.
that one before.
Oh yeah, that's going well.
It's like when I did the tall joke about like, oh yeah, like I'm 5'11", and then I always have to establish I'm tall for a woman because I always get like a dude after the show who's like 6'4" and be like, you're not that tall. I'm like the female version of your height.
That's
like
true.
You can't
Actually,
tell
yeah.
me. You can't tell me that.
That is, and it does seem like it's been for a long time that height is such a thing for guys too. I think that complex gets amplified if they are shorter than you, and so because that seems like it would be fairly common for them to be shorter than you, or at least not like towering over you.
I'm
which
like, I don't even
is a weird
care.
dynamic.
Like the only tall.
That's the thing is like, why do they get upset if you're like, no, I know you're short. That's fine.
Like,
you know?
it's okay.
Yeah.
I can wear you like a backpack. It's fine. I can be the big spoon.
I'll
It's
pick you
okay,
up.
you know. Yeah, that's why I was like, I just can't. I have to like just take a break from all this. And like, I think post COVID, everyone's just a little on edge.
That's
And I'm
true.
just
It's a
like,
little.
I make myself shorter. Like I've been hunching in a gaming chair for the last year and a half.
There you
Like,
go, so
my shoulders are already up to here. It's fine.
Oh man. Okay. Well, we wish you the best on
Yeah.
whenever you return to.
I'm
less
literally
than
going
50.
out with like for Halloween. I'm literally going out with my group of queer friends because I'm like I just need to get around away from straight men for a little bit.
The best. Yes.
Yes,
That is
there
the
you
best
go.
choice always.
It is.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so you stream all the time. Where can people find you to watch your streams or your content or anything? Just plug yourself.
I will say another bad idea was making my Twitch handle at Lisa Wallen because that's my Instagram and Twitter, which is great. Like it's just my first initial, my last initial switch around, Lisa Wallen. But like sometimes I'll raid people's channels on Twitch, which means like you bring your community to them and like they won't know how to say my name because it's all one word.
Yeah.
And somebody called me Weasel Allen, and now now it's a joke in my stream that my name is Weasel. So now I'm Weasel Allen.
Nice.
Guys, you can find me on there.
Look up Weasel Allen, and if you're a Twitch person, what do
Twitch
you even
handle,
call-
yeah.
What do you call your community? Do you have names for your
The
followers?
weasels.
The
My weasels.
Yeah.
Now they're my weasels. So there you go. The weasel community.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
what type of games do you stream, I guess?
Dark
I don't know.
Souls.
Just Dark Souls? That's it.
I do stream
I mean,
a lot of challenging stuff because I like, I just want to be more competitive with men and feel like I'm actually a real gamer.
I'm actually good at this one, even though it's hard. Yeah.
Talk heavy. I talk a shit ton on my stream. So if you guys like a streamer that doesn't shut the fuck up, that's me, and also plays hard games, and that's literally it. So
Boom, there you go. And then Evil Geniuses.
yeah, and then I have a show every other Monday called Lisa's Lair
Nice.
on Evil Geniuses.
Weasels.
Where I interview other content creators and try to get them outside of their shell. That's my goal.
Oh, okay.
Because my evil lair, exposing them for who they are. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, it is kind of what it is, but yeah, it is fun. So
Are they other gaming content type of people, or are they?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah. I
That's
have
cool.
stories for that, but I'll,
Yeah.
this short podcast,
It
I'll
is a
save that
short
for
podcast.
off
Well, it does
podcast.
seem like a lot of gamers might be a little bit more introverted than some other type of. I don't know if that's true, but
They are. All of them are.
I got it. So you bring them in the evil lair and then make them talk.
I'm a lot to deal with. I'm starting to realize. I'm just like, she's very in your face. But yeah, no, Lisa Wallen on everything. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I had a great time and very funny. And I'm excited to, when you decide to do stand-up again, see what other shows you spoil for us. If you are watching on YouTube, subscribe, rate and review, whatever, on Apple and Spotify. We also have YouTube memberships if you want to subscribe to that, and then you get extra bonus material, bonus videos. You get custom emojis. There's actually a video of my worst jokes that I used to do, and I tell them to Blake, and it was great. It's a good time, but right now you can just keep watching Dumb Pitches.
You're weird.
Yes.